Good morning, afternoon, or night, my fellow cakes, and welcome back to my channel. It's so nice to see you here. So today's video, I'm finally doing my review of BrightBurn. Now this time, I'm going to try to go back to doing more of just a review instead of doing an entire synopsis of the whole film. So this film, the main plot behind it that they show you on, like, the back of the DVD covers, or if you read about it online real quickly, is pretty much the premise of what if Superman crash landed on Earth, as a baby, but grew up to be evil instead. So, right away, that this is going to be kind of a villain story type deal. And it's a really cool idea for a film, having it be like a superhero horror film. That's not really done in that type of directing or context for a villain backstory. So I was really pumped to see this film when I heard about it. So right away, we're introduced to some of the main characters, his parents, and they're trying to have a baby and they can't conceive. But then all of a sudden this alien spaceship crash lands in their like woods by their house, and this ship kind of reminded me of like the Saiyan pods that you see from Dragon Ball Z. That they used to come to Earth. It kind of vaguely reminded me of that. So right after that, they end up fast forwarding it. They show some of his baby videos, blah, blah, blah. And now he's 12 years old. And we're introduced to him at his school. And he's getting picked on by the other kids for being smart. There's a question and he like knows all the knowledge to it right away. So he's getting picked on at school. But then they decided to have his ship, his little Saiyan pod, call out to him in this weird alien language. And once that starts happening, he starts having these crazy like mood swings. He starts being a jerk. Um, and it's kind of hard to tell where they're going with this in the movie. And it becomes a problem throughout the whole entire film of they're not really sure if the reason why he's evil is because of his upbringing and the social aspect of his life, or if it's due to the alien ship giving him messages. And you find out later on it's telling him to take the world. Could it be invasion? I don't know. They didn't decide to go any further with either one of these subplots for you to really come to a conclusion of why he's like this way. There's also another idea that it could be just because he knows he's powerful, that he thinks he's superior than people. I mean, you learn early on that he can't be hurt by anything. They do like a little brief thing of him finding out his powers, where he like flings a lawnmower and then sticks his hand into the blades, and obviously the how far he flung it and then doing that and not getting hurt confirms the fact that he's not just an ordinary 12-year-old boy, he's something else. And then his father displays little to no trust in him very early on in the film. He's very paranoid about this kid being evil. And honestly, before I go any further, there's one thing that was glaring to me is these people found this kid in the woods, and no one questions it. Like, they didn't adopt him from anywhere officially. Like, I don't understand how that ended up working. I mean, you could pick apart probably most horror movies and find glaring things like that, but still, I expected something a little bit, I don't know, more effort, something better than that at least. But anyway, I digressed. So his father ends up giving him the advice at some point of sometimes it's okay to give into your urges, which then he ends up like stalking some girl from school, and then she picks on him at school for being a pervert, and he ends up like breaking her arm or something like that, and shows absolutely no remorse for it whatsoever. And I mean, even the hand breaking scene, like that part was pretty cool. Like it was pretty graphic. And this whole movie, if you're a gore hound, will definitely cater to you well. At least it did for me. There's like a scene where somebody has glass in her eyeball and she has to like rip it out of her pupil. And when she does, the directing takes it from like her point of view, and like half of it's red and blurry. And then this leads to another problem I had with this film, is that when you see him going after this first lady who has this glass in her eyeball, this is the first person he kills. Um, you see his mask. Now this mask, it drives me crazy because it just looks like he's wearing a red Converse on his face, like an oversized red Converse that he cut like 2 eye holes in. Obviously that's not what it is. It's some like actual creepy mask or whatever, but I just couldn't get over the fact that it looked like he had a shoe on his face, and this is who we're supposed to be afraid of. Um, they could have also gone into his powers a little bit more. We know he's invulnerable. You find out later on that the only thing that can hurt him is his ship. So, but besides that, yeah, nothing on Earth can hurt him. And he has laser vision, you find out later on, and he can fly. There's also a scene where he flies up really high, so does he really need to breathe or not? I don't really know. They didn't go into a lot with this film. And their pacing definitely suffered from their, in my opinion, their lack of direction, because they, like I said earlier, keep on flip-flopping between these voices that he hears in this weird alien language, or like, the kids picking on him at school, or his dad obviously not trusting him. They should have picked one, because without picking one, there's too much screen time to not really go into either one appropriately. Um, his mother in this film loves him throughout like pretty much the whole entire film. Always defends him and stuff like this. And as the film progresses, you see him kind of get more and more crazy, believing that he's better than everybody else. And he ends up like killing somebody else by like lifting up their car and then dropping them. When they drop, their face hits the steering wheel, and then like their jaws hanging all brutal, and then like he watches them die. And then he both like of these two victims that he kills, this person and then that person before with the glass in the eye, he leaves this weird symbol which is like a double B. But to me, for some reason, when I first see this symbol, like you see him drawing it in school and stuff too, it just reminded me of that like three, or the sixth line, I mean, S thing that everyone used to make, back in school. So that's just something that I found humorous, that his symbol is essentially that weird little S. So anyway, that symbol is left at both crime scenes. So now there's this cop who ends up thinking that this kid is responsible for these. Which, maybe for the first one, because that lady is missing, you don't really know what's going on with her. But the other person gets killed in his car, and they end up thinking it could be like swerving from a deer or something. How do you think a 12-year-old boy that nobody besides his parents know that he has superpowers? To think a normal 12-year-old boy could do something like that is just absurd. But that's where they decided to go with this. And then, so he ends up like getting betrayed by his dad at some point, which makes him more mentally unhinged. And then, in this super duper cliche type of ending, his mom ends up like having a piece of the ship, and she's like gonna kill him. And then she like hugs him, and like right before she hugs and embraces him, he says to her after this whole dramatic chase scene that like, I do want to do good, even though he just murdered like, see, there's a diner person. He ends up murdering his uncle in the car. Then his father, he ends up using lasers, which was kind of cool to see, but also that CGI, in my opinion, could have been a little bit better for that scene. Um, then he kills the two cops, that end up coming to his house. One of them's that cop that was looking into him causing the car accident. And that cop, when he kills him, is honestly my favorite kill scene in this whole film. He ends up like flying super fast and like literally all of a sudden you see the cop standing there and then there's just a splatter of blood all over and like organs and stuff. So I thought that was really cool. I haven't seen something like that really done before. So the kill scenes in this were really enjoyable, but the plot suffered. Anyway, I digressed from where I was. Back to what I was saying. So yeah, the mom's hugging him. He says he wants to do good. And then she goes to stab him and then he ends up killing her. But, I mean, you have this super powered kid. You just saw all of this stuff go on, how fast he is and everything else. Why would you even try to kill him? At least try to maybe, I don't know, convince him to do good. Then you could have explored that plot line of, the mother's helping him resist that influence of the ship. And mind you, when the ship's doing these things, talking to him, it's like lighting up like red and stuff like that. So why not go into it? Maybe have her like trick him into trying to fly after her and then break the ship. And then you could have had a dramatic scene where he ends up like dying from the ship because he flew into it. Or you could just have him break it and now he's like an anti-hero, kind of, I don't know, like Venom or something like that, where he ends up like, fighting villains or bad guys and stuff like that, but you could have him like kill them. I just feel like what they left it as, it was just too cliche. I've seen stuff like that before. Now, if they do a sequel, I think a sequel could actually do better than this film itself. They could go into the whole invasion thing, what the whole possible take the world thing, find out where he came from. Is he from like a race that takes over planets normally? Or is he like, the last surviving member, like, Superman or like Goku of his race? There's so many possibilities to make a sequel good if they go more into his backstory, the powers, everything else. So that's what I'm hoping for with this film, or I mean the future of this film, I should say. Overall, I'd probably give this about a 6 out of 10 because I did enjoy it. The premise is a really cool idea. The execution just could have done a lot better. The storyline was kind of bland overall. Also, there's a problem that I have with some films of I can't really tell what time era this is supposed to take place by the scenery and everything else like that. Which I would just like to know that personally. What have that be very clear to the audience that it's like present day or something along those lines. Um, I'm trying to think of really what's good for it that gives me the 6, but besides the gore scenes and the premise, there's not much. The acting was okay. His mother, I've seen her in a couple of other films, and I like her acting, so she was enjoyable. The father just seemed so unrealistic to me about how he's ready to freak out at the kid over everything. Um, yeah, so 6 out of 10. Decent film with some glaring problems. Anyway, so my next Tuesday's video, I am kind of torn between 3 separate anime titles I want to review. I want to go over possibly Mob Psycho 100 Season 2. I loved both Season 1 and Season 2, so I'd really like to go over Season 2 and do a review of that. I was also recommended to watch the show That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. I actually just watched the first episode tonight. It looks really good in my opinion, and it's only about 24 episodes long, so that's something I can really binge watch if you guys want me to do that for my next Tuesday's video. Or I could go over Demon Slayer. I just finished that show, and I really ended up enjoying that a lot. I ended up watching it like right after Dororo, like rolled right into that show. So yeah, I just enjoyed it a lot. I like the whole premise of demons. It's just a very straightforward plot to me. And yeah, I mean everyone's heard of like evil spirits or demons before, so seeing them get killed is always enjoyable. Yeah, so comment down below. Let me know which one of those three titles you would like to see. And also, if you comment down below, you can be featured in my next week's shout out. Now, this week's shout out goes to Samara Howard. Thank you for commenting on my video. And like I said, all you have to do to be shout outed, is that how you say it? Shout outed? Is comment down below and I'll pick someone randomly next week. So any feedback that you guys feel like giving me, more suggestions, I'm always down to get more suggestions for titles to go over. Also, I'm going to have my Facebook link, my Instagram, my Tumblr, and my Patreon all down below, so feel free to check any of those out. Click them on up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. When you subscribe to my channel, you get to become an official Cake and Cake Gang. We are the sweetest channel on YouTube that's not about food. Alright, well, I'll see all of you guys again on Monday with my next transition video. Until then, later cakes!